Welcome to the Ekklesia. We are the called out, talking about the chosen. We are the Church of 434 staff. This is Leanne, Richard, Michael. I'm Jeff. We are offering commentary, but I have to correct something I said in the previous episode. We are now going to talk once again about the pilot, which is entitled The Shepherd, and we're going to talk about our takeaway impact moments.
Go.
Not our favorite moment in the thing, but for us, the kind of that application. What does it mean? You've watched this experience, you've seen it, if it resonates with you. And we're going to start with Richard, because Richard really wants
He felt slighted.
to share a moment with you, because last time he didn't get the opportunity. We even brought a prop in that can watch him while he does it.
Oh, that's great.
It's not the shepherd.
I think if you just rewind to our previous episode, Jeff took the liberty of
Stealing my
talking
stuff.
our takeaways, but I will go and reinforce that now. The takeaway that I had was I'm going to go different.
That's a horrible takeaway.
I'm going to say Christ in me, the hope of glory, because I think, because I think that's the essence of what the shepherd saw when he held Jesus, was that he was, as Leanne said, he was seeing the Savior firsthand, and that makes all the difference in the world. He was a broken dude. He was incomplete. He wasn't full worth. He wasn't whole. And the great thing about to you and I is we're all in that same boat. We may not all be, shepherding sheep, but we all are less than who we are intended to be without Jesus. And me plus Jesus makes me whole. Mm-hmm. And so I think the understanding on his face of I'm whole completes the hope that he had that he would be that someday. That's all he had. So that's my takeaway.
That's good. That was really good. That was probably worth waiting for another episode for.
No.
Really, I mean, I'm glad you finally got there.
Oh my God.
Well, I get there when I'm allowed to.
Well, I hate to hold you up, man. So that was well said. Well said. I almost teared up when you said that.
Did you?
I did almost. I was
Leanne's
close.
crying
I was
too,
close.
so.
No,
I
I'm
was
not
close.
crying now. My takeaway probably goes back to the first thing that caught me in the film, and probably because, we in the room were, if you want to call us professional Christians or whatever, but, as you watch something, you kind of say, who am I relating to? Who am I in this? And you want to hope that you're the shepherd, but probably, truth be told, I'm the priest.
Oh.
Yeah, I
And
would
getting
agree with
so
that.
busy. Thanks for that affirmation.
You got nicer hair though.
Yeah.
Wow.
I wear better clothes. No.
Wow. That's just tough, man.
But I think it's a struggle in my own life anyway, because I am very task driven. I mean, I want a checklist and I need to know that this is what I need to get done, and that's kind of how I go through life a lot. So really concentrating on don't miss the people in the moment. I mean, we kind of had a leadership conference that was talking about that too, of, take time, because the people are part of the journey God has you on. And so the priest was so busy doing the religious thing and doing his job that he totally missed what was going on. And for me, I want to make sure that, God, I don't want to miss what you're doing, because what I think you're doing, and again, it's a good thing. I mean, it's the Saul, right? God, I know all this stuff. I'm a learned man. I need to go after these people because they're blasphemous. Well, no, you're persecuting me. God, Paul, I'm doing something different here. And so I think for me, that was the aha takeaway of make sure I'm not always doing what you think I'm doing here, and you need to stop and see the bigger picture. You're going to miss the miraculous because you're so caught up in doing what I called you to do, and you want to do a good job. I appreciate that, but you're missing the other thing that I'm doing, the more important thing probably as you lead. So that was that's probably why I teared up going,
Sure.
because I don't want to be him, but I'm him.
Richard was hoping you learned something.
Yeah, I know.
Very good,
I'll wait
you know.
to see if it's reflected in the new leadership.
How are you, Richard?
Oh, how you doing? Bless your heart.
Judge, jury, and executioner.
No doubt.
Wow. There you go, baby.
See if I'm vulnerable anymore.
Bet you don't cry anymore, will you?
That's exactly right. Suck it up, Buttercup. Here we go.
That's right.
For me, my takeaway is in the faces of Mary and Joseph and the shepherds and the normal people that God chose to use to do the miraculous. That to me, it's just amazing. Christ in you, the hope of glory, is something I can't wrap my tiny brain around because it's just too big a thought. But the concept that
You'll get there.
exactly right. We all can't be Richard at the same time. But the concept that God would indwell flesh and his Holy Spirit would choose to use a teenage girl and her really super nervous, slightly older than teenage, boyfriend, man, husband, whatever.
36, man.
92, whatever. Or that he would choose to use those guys who sit on the bottom of the social rung outside of town. That piece that God chooses to use the super, like intensely mortal, as though anything is less or more mortal than anything else, but the marginalized to accomplish holy purposes, to me is profound. Yeah. That's profound.
Well, yeah, because I mean, think about how, because again, in the film, I mean, they go back into town running and telling everyone, and I'm like, that's how it got shared. Again, it wasn't from the religious leaders down of let us tell you what happened. It was.
It wasn't even
them
from
going,
the angels.
It wasn't from the angels.
No,
No.
it was from
It
these
was from
lowly
these-
shepherds going, and they were the
Well,
ones that
you'll
first.
keep hearing that throughout. Every time it's go and tell, go and tell, go and tell, and that's how they spread the word.
It is interesting too. I mean, I've heard about the chosen from the go and tellers. Right, there was no
Oh, sure.
advertising,
Right.
there was
Right.
no
Yeah.
clickbait that drew me
Yeah.
in. It's the go and tellers that have done the
Very
work.
much word of mouth. Yeah, it's cool how they funded it too. To me, I mean, again, I love the episode. It was good storytelling. Because it's a Christmas episode too, it resonated with me because I love Christmas. But I think it tapped into why I like Christmas so much too, and I was not expecting that because again, it was a new take on the Christmas story, and you watch and you know the Christmas story. We teach it every year. We often talk about as a teacher how hard it is sometimes to teach at Christmas because everybody knows what to expect, and this was a brand new kind of angle to take on it. But one reason I love Christmas so much is Christmas is that moment that takes me back to why I do what I do. Christmas is that moment that takes us back to the beginning of faith, right? Jesus shows up, hope shows up. And I mean, I think now that I'm older, and we've been doing this a long time as a staff, we've been doing this a long time, and I think that sometimes we run that risk of being that very professional religious person, as Leanne kind of mentioned, that we know what to do. And I was watching the episode, and I got kind of smacked upside the head with how many times have I been in a conversation as a pastor with somebody, and I'm doing what I'm there to do. I'm looking at the lamb. But what really is taking place here, I've got somebody right in front of me saying, "Hey, I wanted to talk to you about this," and it's kind of, I wanted to ask about this and ask about Messiah. I mean, they're trying to have a spiritual conversation, but they're nervous because of who you are and what your role is and what they think you know. And you're so busy doing whatever it is you're doing that this was the moment that they had figured would be their inroad to get some kind of a dialogue with you. But I'm just too stinking busy doing what I'm doing not to get it. Anyway, and that kind of caught me a little bit off guard because I had that same moment like, God, hopefully that's not me, right? But yet at the same time,
Tell him it is. You were so quick on me. Oh, the man that signs the paycheck doesn't get that. Okay.
I'm good to the head Pharisee going,
so
Come on, Nico, you got this, right?
but then when you get to the rest of it, I mean, it's that whole let's search, let's find him, because I think sometimes we can get, and I don't want to use the word jaded. That's wrong because I know our hearts. I know you guys. We don't get jaded, but we get caught in the mechanism of what it is that we do sometimes. Did I figure? What are you doing over there? All right. Okay, he needs some sugar. I see he needs some sugar. But we get caught up in the mechanism sometimes of what we do that we need to keep going back to why we do it. And I remember when I got into this ministry thing. I got into ministry because I was just convinced that the church had just messed it up. That the church wasn't relating to people. It wasn't connecting to people. And that's kind of what this whole episode was about. I mean, this guy's trying desperately to connect and find hope, and no one wants to give him time of day. And so, to me, I got really caught in that moment because, again, that's why I love Christmas. Christmas is that restart every year. I remember it takes me back to the beginnings of why I'm on this journey anyway, and why Jesus has called me to this, and why, I can't get to Easter if I don't have Christmas. I mean, if Jesus doesn't come and enter my world and my life and bring hope, I got nothing to go with. I have nothing to share for anybody else. And take an inventory of my life, I got nothing. I mean, because again, that defines who I am. And so, that's part of that Christmas. And to me, the end of it was so powerful because it was that moment when they're telling all the good news, and then that priest again comes up with that line, and it's a paraphrase. I'm sure I'll screw the line up, but something like, "Shepherd, what are you doing here? I told you not to come back to you have an unblemished lamb, or have you found that unblemished lamb," or whatever he does. And there's no answer. It's just that smile, and it's that, because if it's me, I'm under the breath. I got you, unblemished lamb, dude. But he doesn't say that, and that's how it kind of ends. But then it goes into "Oh Holy Night," and I cried and teared up at that, because that's my second favorite Christmas song next to "Old City Bar." And
Which the shepherd would have been at.
that's where it would have been. They were all drinking at the Old City Bar. But because that line, the thrill of hope. A weary world rejoices. How tired was the shepherd of looking for answers, right? But he got them. And so, to me, I'm like, oh my gosh, when this thing ended, I'm like, wow, this was really good. And this was a good Christmas story. And I think that was, for my takeaway, it brought me back to that grounded, why do we do what we do for a living? I mean, why are we doing this? Why are we doing anything that we do? We get to a moment where we're in the business of dispensing hope. And so for me, the series itself is kind of one of those, it's a new take on, it's a new way to communicate hope. And so kind of that's where I'm at. Anything else stand out in this episode before we wrap this one up and talk about episode 1 next? For real?
For real.
Okay.
I would choose not to speak till the next episode.
I think it'd be,
I would say, for me,
probably wise at this point, yeah.
I'll speak to this one. The first time I heard of The Chosen, someone had me pop into some random episode. And frankly, I found it just slow-paced and so forth. Going back to the pilot really infused every episode I've seen since. I don't know if it was planned that way. I know that the pilot birthed the opportunity that it went forward. But if you're thinking about popping into The Chosen and you've popped in the middle and it's beautiful, you'll say this, it's well shot, it's well produced, blah, 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 I just can't get into the story, and you've missed the pilot, go back, watch the pilot, and then roll on.
Yeah, I mean, like you, I mean, I was slow. I was slow to The Chosen Party. I mean, I knew it was out there, and I appreciated what they were doing, but I hadn't watched it because I'm back to maybe this is more therapeutic than I knew, because we talk about the fact that sometimes we get we know what we do. So I'm not a fan of Christian films. Everybody knows that. I'm on the record that the only one I like is the Masked Saint, and so because it's wrestling, and we know the guy that wrote it. But so you think, well, who wants to stream a TV show about Jesus?
The greatest story ever told.
I mean, Stranger Things is on, right? I mean, come on. I mean, something else is on.
57 minutes.
Yeah, well, God, not that long, right? So you kind of get to it. And so it's slow to kind of get. I kind of got drugged to the moment. Now, I mean, I've seen. I got into the series before I actually saw the pilot. So for me, I had to go kind of retro for the pilot. But I agree. The pilot is a great way to jump in, and so if you haven't seen it and you're watching us, what is wrong with you? Please go back and watch the pilot. And then for us, we're going to come back, and we're actually going to then kind of do the same thing with episode 1. This concludes the pilot. The shepherd is now done. We are the Ekklesia, the called out, talking about the chosen.
Jesus is on the scene.
Yes, so we choose you to go watch forward. So we look forward to joining you next time.